Now move it. Ooh. Hello, lovely people. Welcome to this live class. I'm just trying a different way of doing this live class, inspired by my experience last month when we were at the NAMM show in Los Angeles, when I did it on my iPad, and it turned out to be so much easier than on my computer. So what I'm doing today is I'm setting up my iPad on my desk, and you'll have a slightly different view today. So welcome if you're here. It's just lovely to see you all here. And I just wanted to say what a difference a month makes, that we were in between the palm trees at the NAMM show in January, and here we are with my thickest fleece on because it's actually freezing cold in the UK now. So good afternoon to do some violin chat. So here we are. So as usual, let me just talk you through how this works. In the chat box, you can type your message, which I can then read, and then you can ask any violin related questions. So I'll do my best to answer the questions as they come in, but if I fail to answer your question, do please remind me, because I get to see all the chats there as well. So what we're going to do is also, if you want to practice using the chat box, that's absolutely fine. And what you can do is just write in the chat box where you are joining us from today. So it's really nice for me to see where everyone is located, but I think for you guys as well, it's just really nice to find out who is here and where you are all from. So go ahead, who's the first to write something in the chat? Now, whilst we're waiting for the messages to start coming through, first of all, I want to thank those of you who are members of Henriette's Violin Club. And I've said it many times, what does the membership do? This is a fairly new initiative by YouTube. It's about a year old, I guess, where creators can be supported by memberships. And it is a way to support creators like myself, like many other creators, who spend considerable time making videos for you to watch on YouTube. And that takes time off our normal working week, doesn't it? So when you are a member of Henriette's Violin Club, and there are 3 different membership levels, bronze, silver and gold, you support the work that I do, and it means that I have more opportunity to create more videos for you. Now then, hello Linda, you are here and you live in Kent, and Linda is one of the regulars in this class, so welcome, good to see you here. People are coming and going at the moment, so I'm wondering if it's all working. Is it all working all right at your end, Linda? Before we have some more people joining us, let me know if you can hear me fine, if you can see me fine. I'm very aware that my camera is in a different place on the iPad than it is on my computer, so I'll try and talk to the camera, which is a bit weird. But I can see your chat. Now, at the bottom of your chat box, you've got these icons, so you can put emojis there. Okay here, Henriette. Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. At the bottom of your chat box, you can see several icons, which I just don't have at the moment, so perhaps it looks slightly different from how I explain it to you. You can put emojis there, and you can put in a super thanks, I think, and super stickers, and those are things that you can buy, and again you promote this YouTube channel. So I've been busy recording lots of videos in recent weeks since I've been back from America, really, and I finished the Violin for Starters course, and that's turning out to be a really popular one as well. That's a relatively short course, 17 lessons for absolute beginners, and it takes you through to the Cucolo Concertino, and that is always a firm favourite of many people. So if you've never played that before, do go ahead and try the Violin for Starters and then the Cucolo Concertino, because it's just the most lovely music. I can actually clearly remember from when I first learned that, and I thought, oh gosh, I'm already quite a competent player. And it is in the early stages of your violin playing when you can play that, but it's just so satisfying to be able to play that. Now then, anyone's got a question for me to answer? Have you come across anything in your playing or in your music that you want to ask a question about? I'm trying to think of something that has crossed my practice this week. Because it's been half term, I've been teaching. I always teach as normal during the holidays. Nothing special has come up really, I don't think so. So Linda, go away. Linda, fire away. If you have a question, then please ask it in the chat box. Write it in the chat box. Really struggling with the second position. Any tips? Good one. That's a really good question, actually. The second position is a tricky one for most people, but it is ever so useful. And I always think, of course, everyone learns, that is not quite true. Most people learn the first position first, and then they go on to the third position, and then they learn to play the second position. That's not strictly true, because there are violin methods, believe it or not, where you start in the third position, and there is some idea behind it which is not outrageous. I've never tried teaching that, but the second position is when you play a first finger on a note that's in between the lines, and we're so used to playing a first finger on a note which is on top of a line of the stave. So if I have a stave, have I got a spare stave somewhere? No, let me just write a stave. Let me just quickly write a stave here. 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our treble clef. So the second position, your notes start on the C. There we are. Oh, and now we get it in reverse, don't we? So that is the disadvantage of being on the iPad, I guess. I'll do it like this. I think, no, then you can't see it either. Sorry, I'll just flip my camera. Hang on a second. Let's see if that works. Where was my camera flip? There we are. Oh, there's a challenge. It's a bit too close now. Hang on a second. You see, this is what I love about YouTube, because I'm learning all the time. So here we go. In the second position, your first finger is going to be on a note which is in between two lines, you see, and that takes some getting used to. So let me first of all say to you, Linda, you are not the only one who finds that extremely tricky. So now if I just take this away, actually what I could do is I could just write this here. That means that if the first finger is on the C, the third finger is on the E, and that is where the open strings are. So if you can think of the second position in two ways. Find out where the first finger is, and then working out where which note you're playing. But perhaps it's easier to work out where your third finger is, because your third finger is always in place of an open string. So if I go on the D string, my first finger is here, and my third finger is on A. So let me just write it like that so you can quickly identify that. On the G string, my first finger is on B and my third finger is on D. On the E string, my first finger, yes, is on G and my third finger is on a B. See? There you've got your first and your third fingers. If you memorize those notes, then you will find it's probably a bit easier. So copy this if you want to. The video will stay on YouTube at the end of this class, so you've got more time to copy it than just the minute that I'll show you this, okay? Anyone else here finds the second position tricky? Or do you all find it okay? Or does nobody else play the second position yet? That's also a possibility, of course, isn't it? So if you, if you find the second position tricky, you are not alone. So bear that in mind and it makes you feel a bit better about it, hopefully. Madeline, hello and welcome. So this is a new name that I have not come across before, so it may be that you've been here before. If I don't remember you, welcome. Really nice to see new faces here. So if you have a question, do write it in the chat box and I'll try and answer it to the best of my ability. Is there anyone else who's got a question for me? I know I can see still new people are still coming into this chat, so by all means take your time and write your question. We're not going to go anytime soon just yet. Now, whilst we're waiting for questions to come through, I want your opinion. So perhaps you can help me make a decision on that. In the last sort of 8-9 months, I can't even remember exactly, I have made the shop with the products underneath each of the videos. What do you think of that? And you can give me an honest answer. I know what sells and what doesn't sell, so I'm not going to disclose that, but what do you think? Are they nice products or would you like to see something else? Do you think they are a reasonable price? Or are they too expensive or too cheap? What do you think? What do you think of that shop? Have you ever visited it? Do you like or dislike perhaps? And again, you can say they're absolutely rubbish. I shall not be offended. Do you like the products that are there? And do you like the designs or not? And how can we improve that? So that's a question for you guys. Now then, let's see. Vienna Palace, hello and welcome. Lovely to see you here. I've only just started playing and all the positions are new to me. Yes, that will be, but you know the first position when you're first starting playing and how you start playing. That is to say, if you start playing with your fingers at the beginning of the string right here, then you're playing in the second position. Now positions are just like frets on a guitar. Frets are these white lines on a guitar, you see, and they indicate where you can move your whole hand up. Okay, there are a total of 13 positions on the violin. We learn positions, I'd say I usually teach positions 1 to 5. And having said that, the fifth position is really, really easy because it's got the same fingerings as the first position, but then you play those fingers a string down from where you play them in the first position. So don't let us be too complicated for you. If you play in the first position, that's what it's called. And it isn't until you feel completely comfortable playing in tune in the first position when you start to move up. And as I said before, we usually move up to the third position after the first position, so we're skipping the second. And the reason for that is that the vast majority of the pieces for violin, for learning to play the violin, are written in the key of D major. And when you play in the third position and you play that highest note that you can play, fourth finger on the E string, that note is called D. So when you start learning the third position straight after the first position, it means that suddenly you've got a vastly greater amount of pieces that you can play, you see, because you play in the key of D major. Now, if this is all mind-boggling for you, don't worry about it, don't fret about it. Carry on playing in the first position and just know that that is called the first position. I hope that's enough. And Linda says, thank you, I'll try concentrating on the third finger. Just a slightly different approach. And sometimes I can still remember when I learned the second position, and I thought by that time I already knew I wanted to become a violinist. And when I was learning the second position, I thought, there goes your career. This is simply not for me because I can't get my head around it. I'm so confused. So it took a little while before the penny dropped, and then suddenly when you've got that in your head, then you can move along again. But don't worry, Linda, if it takes a while. See if that different approach of focusing on the third, where the third fingers are, is going to help you. And we'll speak about this again, maybe next month or the month after. Let me know how it works for you then. So let me have a look at the next message. Madeline says, my daughter is 6.5 years old and she just started learning the violin. So I'm learning and researching for her. I love your videos. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you. Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you so much, Madeline, for mentioning that. I have recently noticed that more and more parents are learning with their children on my YouTube channel, even grandparents with their grandchildren. So, and that is lovely. Now, all my videos are essentially geared for adults, but they can just as well be used for children so long as they have an adult with them. Maybe sometimes explaining in more children-like language what I mean. So if you can do that, that's absolutely fine. And my best advice would be practice little and often. So if your child comes home from school, is she 6.5? So she might be quite tired when she comes back from school. Just do 5 or 10 minutes and that's fine, and do the bulk of your studying at the weekend, because it's very easy to put them off by putting them through the motions too much too soon. Okay, so little and often is my best advice that I can give you. I hope that helps. Truth Slaps, hello, nice to meet you. This is also, I think, a new name, but that is just my brain maybe not working as well. If you're new to this channel, welcome, lovely to see you. Any tips for relaxation during playing? I find my left shoulder tensing up and my bow hand. And this, again, thank you for this question. It's a really good question and one that concerns many other players as well. The left shoulder tensing up is because this is such an unusual posture, isn't it? And what you can do, I don't know how long you've been playing the violin, or maybe you are an advanced player, I don't know. Take regular breaks and regularly sort of stretch your arm the other way. So if you find this twist really tiring, most people do, bend it back the other way. And then you might sometimes, when you play open strings, just drop it all down. Drop your shoulders down, loosen up your bow. It was your bow hand as well, isn't it? Yeah. So loosen up your bow hand before you then play. Now, tension in violin playing is very much related to experience in violin playing. And I always give the same example. Now, I can't restrain myself from saying that again. When I first learned to drive, I was squeezing the steering wheel because I was so keen to get it right. But actually didn't make me a better driver at all. It's with experience that you start to relax, and now you've got lots of people playing, driving and using their mobile phones. They're so relaxed, they can let go of the steering wheel. So when you get more experienced, you are able to become aware, and becoming aware is the first thing in relaxation, isn't it? Just noticing that you are a little bit tense before you can do something about it. But doing something about it is not always that easy. You may know that your shoulder is tense, and obviously you are already aware because you mentioned it. It's your left shoulder and your right hand. then letting go is a whole different ball game. So take regular breaks. Feel the difference between the tension and the relaxation. That goes especially for your right hand. And perhaps follow my Mindfulness for Violin Players course. And if you go on my YouTube channel and you scroll down, so there's most viewed videos and most popular videos and newest videos and so on, scroll down to lower down the page, eventually you'll see a series of videos that have, I think it's a sort of sunset and a tree as their thumbnail, and it's mindfulness for violin players. And mindfulness for violin players is how you can become aware of where the tension in your body is. There are exercises there that help you relax, and it also explores the space in front of you with exercises. And of course, when we play the violin, exploring that space in front of you where your instrument is and where your bow is and how we're using that space or not using it is quite a revelation for some, just to become aware of how you act in the space in front of you when you play the violin. So mindfulness for violin players, I think it's called, yeah. So let me see. Thanks for your tutorials. I just started on book 2. Okay, so that's the Suzuki course, book 2. So you're not a beginner anymore then, clearly. The bowing for musette has been a challenge, but I'll keep practicing. Yeah, in the Suzuki method, the bowing technique gets developed quite early on. So it gets quite complicated early on with hooked bowings and dotted staccato notes under a slur, that sort of thing. So take it really, really slowly at first. And that will help with your relaxation as well, because if you play something that is slightly too difficult for the level where you're at, you're going to increase the tension because presumably you're an adult learning to play. We are so keen to get it right. And that's a good thing. Yeah, I applaud that. That's really good. But it means that we're working so hard to get it right. Sometimes we're overworking it a little bit. So slowly trying to sort out exactly how things go. What is a down bow? What is an up bow? Which notes are slurred together and which notes are not slurred together. That is going to make you progress faster, believe it or not. Slow progress equals faster progress, I always say, which is a weird thing, isn't it? So if you play very slowly, that equates to making fewer mistakes, and therefore you will progress faster. So unfortunately, when we play an instrument, every time you make a mistake, you get better at that mistake. Unfortunately, we practice the bad things as well as the good things, you see. So making the fewest mistakes that you can possibly do by playing more slowly is going to progress faster in the end. I hope that helps. Vienna Place says, thank you for demystifying that. That's about the positions. You're welcome. I did a diploma of music on a sax a couple of decades ago, so understanding the intervals has been fairly easy. Yeah, that makes a big difference. You can probably read notes as well, and you can read rhythm, so that is a huge advantage when you learn a new instrument. I once took part in some sort of fun thing. Obviously, this was between a whole group of music teachers, and the challenge was, and this was like a charity thing, can we do a grade 1 exam on a new instrument that we've never ever played? So I'd picked the oboe. I love the oboe, but I cannot blow up a balloon. So I failed miserably. I couldn't learn the oboe in 6 weeks because I can't even blow up a balloon. I haven't got the power in my stomach to be able to blow that oboe. Lots of people did, and lots of people learnt to play the violin in 6 weeks and got their grade 1 on the violin in 6 weeks. That was fun, but mine was a miserable fail. So Madeline says, thank you, Breamhill. Have you ever played a Stradivari or really high-end violin, and if so, did you find it was better than, say, $1,000 to $3,000 violin? Oh, I wished I did. I wished I did. Yeah, no, and people say, I have not played a Stradivari or other really high-end violin. I've got pretty decent violin myself, and when I moved up to my instrument, it was a huge difference. And people say when they go on to Stradivarius violin, this is people who have got experience on that, they say it plays almost by itself. Obviously, you have to have the technique to be able to play it, but it is so slimly made, and the neck of the violin is so at just the right angle, because it makes a big difference. And maybe you've got two different violins, or have tried some other violins, that the roundness of the neck and the thickness of the neck, the width of the neck as well, it makes a huge difference for how that feels and how easy it is to play. And people say that on a Stradivarius it just glides along and it's so much easier. So yeah, there are a couple of very interesting YouTube videos actually that compare the sound like that, play different types of instruments behind the screen, and then they ask, what did you like the most? That's interesting, isn't it? But people who have played these instruments, they all comment that they're so much easier to play. And don't ask me why. That is still an unanswered question, I guess, isn't it? Why are Stradivarius violins so well known, so wanted, so sought after? What is it exactly? And you can talk for hours and hours about the type of varnish that Stradivarius used, about the type of wood and where the wood came from and so on. But how he got to make it so easy to play, I have no idea. Good question, interesting one. Linda says, I find when I play double stops, my left hand really tenses up. Yes, many people find that, and that is partly to do with us practicing fewer double stops and single notes, obviously. Partly to do with sometimes really awkward combinations of fingers. Like sometimes you have to really put your fingers over the top of one another. Clearly you get more tension in your fingers and in your hand as well, because sometimes you are at awkward angles with your hand. But partly also because we think it's difficult, and the tension is all in your head, isn't it? It's very much a psychological thing as well. If we think, oh, that's difficult, you play automatically with more tension than when you think, oh, I can do this. And you get that when you play chords that are first difficult and then one or two easy ones at the end of a couple of chords. The last one always sounds the best because you think, oh, I can do this. And it's very much in the mind, isn't it? But again, I'd say when you play double stops and you feel your hand tensing up, obviously you play better in tune when your fingers are more relaxed, because that is how your fingers are knowing the fingerboard, and they know where to go. So the more tension you put on in your left hand, the more out of place and out of shape your fingers go. So if you can play with less tension, that's always better. Slow your chords down, break them into sections. So when you play a chord, now let me give you an example. Some of you may be playing this G major chord. So now I'll show you what I've got. So I've got my fingers 1 and 2. The bottom two notes of the chord are 2 open strings, and then I'm playing fingers 1 and 2. Sometimes, let me think of a chord. It gets a whole lot harder already. Look, I'm in the 3rd position and my fingers are almost over the top of one another. Can you see? There's more tension in my hand. But if I play this chord more slowly and I unravel it by playing the bottom 2 notes first, and then the top 2, then it becomes easier. I split the chords in half. So in my head, I split them in half. And that makes them easier to play. And you might think, okay, I've played this before. Add the E. If you then modern chords are more difficult, obviously, isn't it? So split your chords in half, bottom 2 notes first, followed by the top 2 notes, and they become more manageable. Okay, let me have a look. Kirsty, hello Kirsty. Hello, I have dyslexia and sometimes it's hard to read notes and play, especially with other violins. Any advice for practicing? Yes, that is a real disadvantage, I know, and those violinists that I know who are dyslexic, they find that they can memorize things much more easily than the non-dyslexic people, and that is most likely, I don't know what that is for you, what that is like for you, but most people say because the notes are sort of dancing on the stave for them, so it makes them harder to read, mean that you retain them better if you come away from the music and learn it off by heart. And I teach a couple of severely dyslexic people and they play everything from memory. If you can do that, that would be my best advice. Still, when you play in an orchestra, there's sometimes not a way around it, and you have to play from the paper and do some sight reading sometimes. And it may well help if you use like sticky notes to help you remember certain sections, or I'm thinking if I can give you an example now. Use highlighters to highlight similar sections in the music. So I can remember teaching one girl, this is a couple of years ago, who always had highlighted sections in her music. So all the yellow sections were all the same or related, almost similar. And all the orange sections were different sections from the yellow sections, but she could clearly see blocks of yellow followed by blocks of orange, by blocks of green, and so on. So perhaps that helps you. Usually I find that dyslexic people have got their own strategies, and I tend to follow what people tell me works for them. But there are some people who find it really, really hard just to read some notes on the stave. So learning to play off by heart is probably your best bet. That is an interesting one, and I'd like to know your experience as well. If you try that, how easy is it to memorize music for you, and does it work for you, and when does it work and when does it not work? It's interesting, very interesting one. Vienna Play says oboes are so hard, if not impossible, as I've noticed, but beautiful music. It's one of those things. I have to practice my balloon blowing a little bit more. Draw a thick line on the B stave. I find it helps. Oh, that is very useful. If that works for you, it may help for Kirsty as well. Good one. Only because it's going crazy viral over the internet, but can you play the song? Can you hear the music from the Oppenheimer score? If I had the music, maybe, but wonderful film. Yeah, I'd love to play that. I haven't got it. Good one. Thank you. I agree. Tension can sometimes be in the head. Definitely. As soon as I see double stop coming up, my hand automatically clenches. That works like that for many, many people, unfortunately. And it's just the same with language learning. If you think you can see something and you don't know the word for it, your vocabulary is coming short, then yeah, it gets even harder to think about what that word was, isn't it? And exactly the same, similar in violin playing. When you see something tricky come up, you will get more tense. And how you can break that cycle is to unravel the chords and do relatively more double stop practice. There's some really good books actually about double stop practice. One is called Josephine Trott. Let me just write that in the textbooks if I can do that. Let's see. Josephine Trott. That's called Melodious Double Stops, I think. And there are the Polo Studies. for those of you who are a little bit further advanced. What else can we think of? Most study books have got one or two studies about double stop, so you might explore those and find, or some people even sort of print sections of their pieces and glue them all on a piece of card so that you can practice the most frequently appearing double stops individually. It separates the stave into top and bottom. Yeah, it sounds like this is the comment about drawing over the middle line, the B line, the middle line of the stave, and it helps Vienna place distinguishing between the top half of the stave and the lower half of the stave. Good solution. I'll try that with some of my pupils as well. See if it makes a difference. Thank you for that. And if it helps, it doesn't matter. If it helps you, that's what counts, isn't it? Now then, whilst you go ahead and write some more questions for me, I'm going to do a little plug because my book in America has come out now. Let me just put it here and flip the camera around. Last time I had it in reverse, what do you call that? Mirror image, as a mirror image. Do It Yourself Violin. That's my new book. It's just come out in America. It'll come to Europe by mid-April. And if you go on my website, you can pre-order it. So then I can, I know that you're interested and I will let you know as soon as I have them. So I'm in regular contact with the person from Hal Leonard, who is the European representative, I guess. And they will let me know as soon as as they are available in Europe, and they will come to me as well. And you can buy them either from Hal Leonard. They're already on their USA website, and they're also, I'll put a link below this video once it's finished where you can get it from Hal Leonard USA, or you can buy them on Amazon.com. Be careful that when you're in the UK and you buy on Amazon.com, there's two things. It's going to take a long time for it to arrive here, so you might as well wait until it comes to Europe. But you may have to pay import charges, and I don't know that for sure, but that there's a bit of a risk. So be careful when you're this side of the globe. Be patient, it comes, and I have got my order in for enough copies, so pre-order it on my website and I'll let you know as soon as I have them, and it can go out the same day, so it won't be that long. And Vienna Play says you have pre-ordered yours, you can hardly wait. Now this is really good. It was lovely for me to see my own book. Obviously you know what's in it, I know what's in it, but seeing it in the flesh is just completely different. So my brief was to write a violin method, but not like you know them. The brief was to write a violin method using Disney pop tunes, folk songs, anything but classical music. Now it's turned out there are a few classical pieces that are in the book simply because I thought they were too good to be missed. But basically it's like Disney film music and Motown and Sony, that sort of thing. So completely different from any other method. That was really interesting for me because I've always said throughout my whole career, I've said, my children were learning the saxophone and the guitar, you see, and I was always so jealous because they could always learn pieces that they knew how they sounded, and my violin students always had to do the same, seemingly much more boring music. Of course, that's not the case, but it seemed much easier at the time when my children were learning that they could play pieces that they knew. So I was delighted when Hal Leonard contacted me and said, would you like to write such a thing? And that was sort of a great challenge for me, trying to find modern pieces and analysing them from a violin pedagogue's point of view, what can I use in this piece? Is where does it fit into the pedagogy of the violin? So this book is a really good, solid pedagogical work. I have to do it this way, otherwise we have the same issue as last time. Sorry. Now you can see it. So this is proper violin pedagogy, but using completely different repertoire. So completely different. And when I was in the USA to promote the book, people commented on the fact that it's such a different approach. So I'm hoping you're going to like it. And in the USA, people are already playing from it, I know. And I'm even teaching a person who lives in America and who I teach online, and this person is using this book and he's thoroughly enjoying it. So let me know what you think once you've got it. It won't be long now. Mid-April is just about 6 weeks away, isn't it? Right, let me go back to the chat box now. Vienna Plays, you've pre-ordered it, thank you very much. And Linda too, thank you so much. I'm on a course, says Kirsty, and there are 14 other students like your lessons because I can listen to the music, but on the course I can't listen when I want to. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. So there are 14 other students. So are you having lessons all at the same time? To explain a bit more about what your situation is like, and I can totally understand this especially when reading is more difficult for you. When you can listen to the music, it's far more effective, and maybe that's what you mean. I can't listen when I want to, and that is a major issue, isn't it? But you might try Vienna Place's suggestion in making the middle line, the center line of the stave bold, and maybe that is of some help, especially if you want to listen but you cannot listen to the music as often as you would like. Truth Slaps says, congratulations on the new book. Will there be an ebook version by chance? Yes, there is. I'll put the link in the description of this video down below, and you can download the whole thing, and it comes with about, I can't even remember, I hate to say, I've recorded all these videos. There's somewhere between 80 and 90 videos, and I can't remember exactly how many. So almost every tune has got a video to go along with it. But not only that, most songs have got a violin part that plays, that they've recorded in Milwaukee with their studio musicians. So it's got a violin part that you can listen to, but also a backing track. And the backing track sometimes is a little orchestra or a band, and sometimes it's a piano part. So you can play it on your own with the violin part. Then you can play it with violin and accompaniment, shall we say. And then you can also play it if you're established enough and you've practiced and you feel confident enough to let the example go, just with the backing track. So there is progression in the sound clips that you can download, and what happens here. So you can download the whole book as well. But when you buy the book, if that's what you prefer, here on the first page, or it should flip the screen again. Hang on, bear with me. Let me see. There's now so much behind my computer. There we are. Where is it? Oh, it's too close. Hang on a second. I'll do that better. Sorry about this. So, this is the inside of the cover. So the first page, you see. If you look here at the bottom, it says Playback Plus. In your book, there is a unique code, and you can type in that. You go to the website first, and then you type in that code, and that gives you access to the soundtracks and the video, you see. So this is how it works, but you can download the whole book as well. And like I said, I'll put the link down in the description below, because I've got to find it. I haven't got it ready right here. Okay, so yes, a hard copy and as download. Is there anyone else who wants to ask a question? So like I said before, if you've got any advice or suggestions about what to do with the shop, with the products underneath each of the video, then I'll be open to your suggestions. Let me know what you think, what you think about the style, the design of the products. Maybe you're missing products that you'd like to see, or maybe you see lots of things that are your favorites. Then I'd like to know as well, what is your favorite product, and also what do you think of the price. I have got no control over the price, I don't think, but if people say, oh, it's all too expensive, then I might call them up and see if I can negotiate, but I don't know that. Okay, let me see. Someone says, I have a question. Yeah, if you have a question, type it into the chat box, right? Similar to what you did with when you wrote, I have a question. Let me know your question, and we're going to carry on for 5 or 10 more minutes, so ask it now. Vienna plays, any chance of a beginner's book for violin and cello so my neighbour and I can play duets? That's a really good question as well, and I am not up to date with any cello material, I must say. So I know that there is the Abracadabra series that has cello books and violin books, but I don't think you can play those together, you see. Do a little search on Google and maybe something comes up, or maybe somebody else who's here in this class may give you a suggestion. How to play beamed eighth note. Okay, so somebody else, how you play beamed eighth notes. So I don't know how many of your notes are beamed together. Eighth notes are always beamed together, aren't they? And it just depends how to play beamed eighth notes. If they have a slur, so a long sort of drawn out line underneath, you will slur them and you go however many notes there are in your slur, and you tap the notes, you tap your fingers really hard so they start to articulate. So then I play 4-note slurred. Now when you get more advanced, you might play 6-note slurred or 8-note slurred or 18-note slurred. It gets harder and harder as you go along, but that is how you do it. So you hold the notes on the same bow, and you'll find that initially people will go, that's really hard not to separate the bow and to go up and down, because the right and left hands are a little bit connected usually for most people. So once you get it and you can move this hand independently from your left hand, then you can play notes that are called slurred notes, and you have them on one bow. I hope that answers your question. Kirsty says, yes, we study together with teacher on the same lesson, and I can't listen to the songs when I'm at home. Oh, that is a bit of a disappointment, isn't it? You could record your lesson, obviously, on your phone, but you'd have to discuss both with your teacher and with your fellow students whether they are okay with that. But if you explain the reason why you want to do that, I would personally not have any qualms about that. So have a word with the teacher first and explain what your issue is, and then once you have explained it, ask if it's okay to record. And most mobile phones nowadays have got a recording facility, isn't it? And it may well help you remember your pieces much more easily. Or if then it might also be that they say, okay, I don't want you to record all the talking, just record the pieces. that way it might be a sort of intermediate way, isn't it? But your fellow students presumably would have to okay that as well, because they can be heard in your recording, and obviously you may need to promise them that you're not sharing that recording with anyone outside of your own use. But that seems to me to be a logical thing, isn't it? 8th notes. Slanted 8th notes. Yeah, I think that is what we call slurred 8th notes. Yes, and you put them all in one bow. And let me give you an example of slurred 8th notes. Have I got an example in my book? Let's see here. So let me see if I can find an example. Now these are 16th notes. We're going to go backwards again. Hang on. There we are. So here's an example, and those notes are all slurred together. You can see that sort of slanted line underneath the notes. So the top dark lines there, they are called, they are the beams. Let me see if I can point that out to you. So which group is it in my book? So this one here, where are we? Oh, that's difficult to point at. So those notes, the line at the top here, that is called the beam. And then the slur here at the bottom, hang on, I'm pointing at a different group of notes. That slur here, that slanted line underneath, which one am I having here? That slanted line underneath, sorry, this is very clumsy. That is called the slur. And that means you play all of those notes on the same bow. So you play 5 notes in this example on the same bow. Now, whether these are called demi-semiquavers or 16th notes in America, it doesn't really matter. The principle is the same, that when you see that slanted note underneath, the slanted line underneath here, that means you played on the same bow. Right. I hope that helps. Now then, I think we're going to sort of work towards rounding off this class. And I just wanted to tell you that I am in awe of people learning by themselves or learning in another group and learning online. So I'll give you big applause and lots of admiration for you guys to keep going and to find out so many different things about violin playing. Your questions are always so valid, always super good questions in this class. And Vienna Place says, I have one more tip for everyone before the end. Practice scales with an electronic tuner, the type that changes color when the note is true. Helps with muscle memory and ear training. Good advice, that. Thank you for that. So what I was saying is that I am in awe of you all learning by yourself, keeping going and talking to me about second position and about finger tension, that sort of thing. They're all such good ideas in your playing. So I hope you've enjoyed this class. Give us a like if you have. Do write in the comment section below this video for other people to read as well, whether this is valuable for you. And please let me know about what you think about the shop with the products below each video. Okay, thanks everyone for attending this class, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Goodbye.